Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at bending. Easy, right? Well, not so fast, because today this finger's off limits. We're using this one. Welcome back to the channel, you guys. I hope you're having a great day today. In this lesson, we're talking about bending, but we're talking about weak side bending. So no longer are we going to rely on our ring finger to get us up and down the neck, doing all the heavy lifting when it comes to bending. We are using the index finger, the one that looks bigger, fatter, and stronger, but oftentimes is a lot weaker. So as I mentioned, we're taking the ring finger off the table for today's lesson. And that means we no longer have access to classics such as or you know, the bends that guitarists have in their back pocket that they can whip out at any moment. So if we can't do those, well, what are we going to do? So for today's example, we're going to be using the A minor pentatonic scale, which means our index finger lays across 5th fret. So all our bends are going to be on 5th fret, keeps things really easy because that's where that finger sits for the minor pentatonic scale in the first form. Now our first bend is going to be on 2nd string. Love that little bend. It's between E and F. So just semitones. Another cool thing I like to do is play the F note, even though it's not on the pentatonic scale, it's on the natural minor scale. So I'll play the F, and then I'll do the bend in behind it. Love that little movement as well. But it's just a really great way, especially if you're playing maybe some slow ballads, that back bend sounds really good. Now I know those big epic bends, they pack so much emotional currency when you just like dig in and just let them ring. But these little ones, you know, are a nice counterpoint to that. So that's one that you guys could add to your bag of tricks. And I also like to use it in more of like a, I don't know, like a groovy or a funky way. Something like that. Either going down or going back to the major 6. That's a nice little movement when you're just playing pentatonics. Just kind of turns the melody on its head, so that's a really cool way to use it as well. So that's one of my favorites. Now our second example is on 3rd string, but the fingering is identical to our first example. Just a semitone. But this time we're doing it on 3rd string. Now this is the classic minor to major blues. Now when we're playing in our minor pentatonic, this is our minor 3rd. But in blues it's really common to kind of blur from the major to the minor, go back and forth constantly. I'm sure we've heard many, examples of that. Right? So what we're going to do is do the bend, the semitone. So again, really cool bend. So really fun to play around with. Now when it comes to the 4th string bend on the weak side, here's a couple ways I like to use it. Number one, kind of in a microtonal way. So in other words, not even a semitone. It's like a quarter tone or something in between. And that's the beautiful thing about a stringed instrument. There's all those tones in between a semitone on a piano, that we have access to that, some other instruments don't. So just kind of a slight bend to give it attitude. And of course on the 4th string, this is our G to our A. So a flat 7 to the root. So this is an important kind of movement. So just so much attitude on just bending that little note. So that's one way I like to use it. And you know, so much more, like I said, interest than just kind of like a... as opposed to... And finally, on the fifth, a semitone. And that's the blues note of the scale. So if we use some of those lower strings and we use the fourth string and the third, we can kind of come up with some cool, you know, little phrases. Right? So much more, you know, interest than... then bends. Alright, so now let's combine what we know with weak side bending and come up with a cool little riff. So we're just going to use the same licks that we already learned and combine them into a little bit of a riff. So we'll start off with our first lick. Then we'll go to fourth string. Do those two offside licks. Then we'll repeat our little motif at the top. This time we're going to seventh, which is F sharp. This is not on the scale, it's the sixth. But it's that little melodic turnaround. And then we'll end with that fifth string semitone into the blues note. So let's take a closer look. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little mini lesson. If you did, be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to be notified when new videos become available. You can check out t-shirts and tab store down in the video description below, along with all the gear I use. Other than that, have yourself a great week.